What's up, everyone? Welcome to NFL Pre-Lock Show. I am your host today, TJ Zwarych. Happy Thanksgiving to all of our American friends. Not a holiday for me today, but I am thankful because we got two wonderful people joining me who it is a holiday for them, and they are still taking time out of their day to help you win some money. First up, we got Tasteful Tides, Tim Buell. How you doing, Tim? Happy holidays.
Yeah, thank you, TJ. Very first show ever with Jordan. I've been reading his articles for college football and NFL all season. He does a fantastic job here at RotoGrinders, so I'm excited to do a show with him for the very first time. Yeah, happy Thanksgiving, everybody. This is my favorite slate of the year, every single year. Thanksgiving, NFL, I think it's awesome. Great slate of games today too, so I'm really excited to break it down. It's only 3 games, but I feel like there are so many different ways you could really play this slate. So I think this is pretty awesome.
Only 3 games, but 3 really, really great games today. So it should be fun from a DFS perspective. Should be fun from a real life watching perspective today. You have the Bengals, who have been dreadful, and that would maybe be the one thing that could pull the slate down, but they got Joe Burrow back today. So at the very least, that's going to be exciting to see how that goes, helping us break it all down, potentially in a Joe Burrow LSU jersey, if I'm not mistaken.
Jamar Chase. It's a Chase jersey. I'm testing the jersey luck because the last 2 weeks, I don't know if you saw on the Slack channel we got, but I mentioned that I wore a Brandon Ayuk jersey the week after his contract got voided. I wore a Geno Smith jersey this past weekend, and Chip Kelly got fired on Monday. So I'm interested to see if I can get Zach Taylor fired this one, because I would love to see Clint Kubiak go take that Cincinnati Bengals job. I know everybody's loving his usage with JSN. I can only imagine what he could do with Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase out there.
Yeah, as a Saints fan, I do love myself some Clint Kubiak. He was the one positive part of that team last year was Clint Kubiak. But we're going to break down today's 3 games for you. Like we talked about, 3 great games today. Last week, gross. Next week, gross. Last week was great. I played a ton of Jameis Winston, and so last week went really, really well. This week, gross. But luckily, we don't have to talk about that yet. We are here to talk about the 3-game slate today. In addition to the 3-game slate, we will touch on a little bit of Showdown stuff after we go through these 3 games here as well. So stay tuned for that. We'll talk main slate, a little bit of Showdown for each of these games, and then we will take your questions. If you got questions, get them into the RotoGrinders live stream Discord chat, get them into the YouTube chat. YouTube, all we ask is that you hit that like button. It's free content on a holiday, on Thanksgiving. We are here for you, help you to win some money. All we ask that you help us battle that YouTube algorithm. Smash the like button. It does wonders for us here at the channel. All you got to do is take your mouse, slide it over, give it a little click. If you're on your phone, if you're on your tablet, it's harder. But luckily, I'm feeling generous today. We'll give you a little demonstration if you're watching us here on YouTube. So all you got to do is you go to the YouTube app. It's easy peasy. You pull it up, but here's the problem. When you go to our video, where's the like button, guys? I can't find it. I don't know where it is. The chat is hiding it. You got to click the little X, hide the chat, and then bam, you can hit that like button, which I have already done. A couple extra steps. It's hard, but it helps us out, and we appreciate it. Jordan, why don't you give us your 30,000 foot view on this slate? How do you plan on attacking it? How many lineups you playing? Which game stands out?
So for me, you're always looking for what is going to be the separator for you in tournaments. Like ownership, I'm not really, worried about getting too many high owned guys. It's about what is the 1 to 2 difference makers for me. I think the Lions recently, I found their 11 personnel usage, which is 3 wide receivers on the field, is significantly higher the past 2 weeks without Sam Laporta. And now you have Isaac Tesla probably operating as the sole wide receiver 3 with Khalif Raymond possibly out of the lineup. I don't know if the news came out on him yet, but if he's the only wide receiver out there, you're getting an 80% snap guy that's going to come in under 10% owned on a 3-game slate. And then similar situation in Cincinnati with Mitchell Tinsley, no T. Higgins. We saw his bump in usage. Those are kind of like the 2 starting points, which is weird for most people, you want to start with the studs. For me, on these 3-game slates, I want to think about how does a 3K, guy get there? Which one is it? And which one is going to come in low owned enough that it separates me in tournament? I don't know how you feel or what your process is, Tim.
Yeah, I mean, I think the bottom line with smaller slates like this, you're just not going to feel comfortable with your team. And in fact, you really shouldn't feel comfortable with your team. Like this is not like building out a full like normal Sunday slate of games where we have 11 games to choose from, and you can just click on guys that are comfortable. Like if you want to separate yourself in some of that in that like $5 milli maker contest on DraftKings that has like 600,000 entries, like you're gonna have to make some incredibly uncomfortable clicks. Like that's just how it's gonna have to be today. Like you can't just like hit optimizer and submit your lineup and that's it. Like you're gonna have to find guys and find some leverage pieces that just don't feel very good to play. Like that's just the bottom line. I was kind of looking at like some Green Bay doubles or triples despite the fact that they've been so bad in the passing game. But it's like, that might be one way to get different. Like we're looking at tons of double tight end builds today. I was looking at guys like Fitzpatrick and Musgrave for the Packers, just to get a little bit different. Like if they find the end zone, those could be the guys that separate over the guys that are chalky like Mike Gesicki or Isaiah Likely. I'm not saying you can't play Mike Gesicki or Isaiah Likely, but when you see these value guys that are going to be incredibly popular, you've got to find ways to find some differentiation in your lineups.
Makes a lot of sense. Let's start going position by position here. We'll kind of talk through stacks with the quarterback position, and we'll talk about in depth which of our games and how we want to target each of these games as well as we're going position by position here. Tides, will start it out with you. Quarterback spot. You mentioned maybe getting some Jordan Love. I'm playing 20 lineups today. I'm kind of going the opposite approach where I'm playing some of the chalk heavy, but I'm going all in on only 3 of these guys. I basically just decided to cut Burrow, Goff, Love out of my pool, and Lamar Jackson is the guy that I'm getting to the most heavily. Dak Prescott is number 2 for me in these tournaments. I'm getting a bit of Mahomes, but correct me if I'm wrong. Mahomes kind of seems like that is the cash game played today, and maybe the one you want to look to pivot off of in tournaments.
It's not so much that I do agree with you that Mahomes probably is the cash game guy today. But I would say it's not necessarily somebody that I'd be pivoting away from in GPPs. It's like, who else am I going to be playing in that lineup where I have Mahomes? Like, how am I going to be playing that lineup? I don't necessarily think we should be pivoting off Mahomes. I'm just concerned, hey, like let's just not jam a bunch of other chalk into that build, because I do anticipate that he is going to be the highest owned quarterback. So when you're increasing your aggregate ownership in that lineup, let's not compound the problem with, even more chalk. So when you see Patrick Mahomes with the projected ownership around 36%, that's almost twice as high as any other quarterback. So I would just be paying attention to the rest of your build. Like maybe play some Mahomes triples. That's a way to get different. Get off of some of those chalky double tight end builds. That's another way to get different. So I would just be paying attention to the rest of your team when you are playing Mahomes. I'm not really that high on Lamar today. I'm just concerned. I mean, I know the matchup is obviously fantastic, but I'm just a little bit concerned about his rushing upside. I feel like this is going to be a big time Derrick Henry game. So, and I know the field kind of agrees with that take, but I just, if I'm going to go high at QB today, I'm going to eat that Mahomes chalk. I would rather play Dak over Lamar at 6,300, just because I think this is going to be a spot where Dallas is going to be trailing, and Dak has just been so fantastic all season, and he's going to be much lower owned than Mahomes and Lamar. So I would go Mahomes 1, Dak 2, probably Jordan Love 3, just because of the price. And again, another, in a dome, trailing script, affordable pass catchers in that stack. So I love Jordan Love today at 5.5. I think he's a really strong salary saving piece, despite the fact that he just has not been very good over the past month, or essentially since Tucker Kraft went down. He's just not been fantastic. But I think this is a good spot for Jordan Love here. So yeah, I think so. I'd still Mahomes, Dak, Jordan Love would be number 3 for me. I would be coming underweight in Lamar. I think I'd be coming underweight at Joe Burrow as well, and Jared Goff. So overweight Mahomes, overweight Dak, overweight Jordan Love for
me. Jordan, how about you? How you looking to attack this one? Mahomes is the big chalk today. Are you going to be playing him and looking to get different within that lineup, or are you looking to go elsewhere?
I'll be playing Mahomes for sure. He's the number 1 quarterback, the obvious one. Actually, I'm kind of interested in Burrow. It seems like a little bit more than both of you are. I think he took a long time with this kind of foot injury. You remember those Ravens games last season? Like, that was the Ravens defense we saw the first, 5-6 weeks of the season. And I know they've been better recently, but then you look at like who they've played against. Like, their one impressive one was against the Rams with Matt Stafford. That was kind of before that connection with Devontae Adams clicked, and Puka Nacua got hurt during that game. But they played Caleb Williams, Tua, J.J. McCarthy, Shador / Dylan Gabriel, and then the New York Jets with Tyrod Taylor. Like, they haven't played that premier type of team in a little while. And in the beginning of the season, they were getting absolutely shredded by some of these teams. And you look at last year, like, Zach Orr got to face this offense twice. He got to face it without T. Higgins. Jamar Chase combined for over 400 yards and 5 touchdowns in 2 games against this Ravens secondary. And it's pretty much the same team. It's not very different. It's obviously why we had such high hopes. They killed him last year. This year they've shown signs of lapse. But Mahomes is still over Burrow. It's like, for me, it's Mahomes, Burrow, and Love. I'm not really getting to anybody else because I don't play a ton of lineups. I'm not a 150 builder. And with Lamar Jackson in particular, I'm most concerned with him beating me. However, he's already priced the highest, so I'm not really worried. Like, I don't have that much salary left over. I saw someone in chat talking about, leaving a ton of salary left over. Normally, I like that for some slates like this, but this small slate in particular just has too many studs that can absolutely kill you, that I'm not really trying to do that type of build with. And with Lamar, he can't run. Like, he hasn't ran. He's got under 10 rushing yards, or 10 or less rushing, or 10 or fewer rushing yards in 3 of his last 4 games. If he's not running, he's not this elite QB. I do think he'll find success throwing the ball against Cincy, but he's not going to get goal line over Derrick Henry. He's not running as is, and they don't really need him to do so in this matchup with the Bengals.
Makes a lot of sense. Dean is wondering, you guys, for these quarterbacks, if these players were designated as Thanksgiving side dishes, which QB is your cranberry sauce that's getting the X button?
Goff.
I was gonna say Goff. Probably Goff for me. Are you worried about Joe Burrow being like kind of a traditionally like a slow starter for the season, and this is kind of like his first game back in a long time, Jordan?
Yes, but I think that uncertainty plays into the ownership. Like, I look at Dak Prescott, like, because it's basically him versus Dak in a lot of ways. You look at Cincinnati or Kansas City in particular. When they've played the Bengals, they've played them, which is a very similar matchup to the Cowboys. They do a really good job at limiting T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. Spags over the years has figured out how to kind of lessen the impact on those two. And when you look at when Kansas City had success, or Cincinnati had success against KC, it's actually by running the ball, which is not normal. So, like, I prefer playing Javonte than Chase Brown and getting to Burrow instead of Dak. That's kind of like, it's like, that's the way I've thought about it too, because I think Chase Brown's going to be really owned because his role is incredible. I think Javonte and Mahomes is the way I'm going to play that game.
You're not worried that Chase Brown's role isn't going to go back to what it was pre-Pirine injury with him back?
It's how much is he going to truly play? And like Chase Brown's role diminished when he just kind of he wasn't having success. if I think the Bengals will just play whoever's going to be their best running back. It's not going to be dependent on like Chase Brown's going to get. We're going to guarantee he gets 14 touches now and Pirine gets 10. I think it's like, hey, Chase Brown is averaging 2 yards a carry before he lost his job, and then he's finally found success. We're going to keep utilizing him in that successful spot.
I'm on the opposite side of that one. He was playing in mid-60s in snaps pre-Pirine going down up to the 90s with him coming back. And I'm just worried that like he's still going to get all the running work, but he's just never been an overly efficient running back. And a couple weeks in a row, he's had some good weeks, but he's never been an overly efficient running back. So if I'm not getting those 10 targets, that's where I kind of worry is like, I love having that floor of 5-6 receptions, whereas I don't know that we get that if Pirine is back. And I don't think Pirine's in play. I don't think Pirine's going to get a bunch of touches, but I just worry that it maybe takes away a couple of those catches from Chase Brown. And that is typically where I like targeting him. But let's get into these running backs, because we have Chase Brown, who, if he has the same role, is in an incredible spot. He's projecting to be the third highest owned running back on the slate. But Jahmyr Gibbs, Derrick Henry, these are the two guys that most people are going to be going to today. Jordan, I'll keep it with you. If you're picking one of these, I was going to say expensive ones, but I guess Henry is way closer to Jacobs and Brown than he is Gibbs. If you're picking one running back to build around, which is the one you're making sure you have? And then who else are you looking to target today?
Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry is the starting point for me. The Bengals. So when I've been looking for Derrick Henry's explosive game, the main thing is yards before contact. Because if Derrick Henry gets ahead of steam, that's when he is at his best. Bengals have been bottom 10 in the NFL every week or this whole season in terms of yards before contact for running backs. That's when Derrick Henry just gets those explosive touchdowns. And you look at him last week, like they didn't really workhorse him necessarily against the Jets. They didn't necessarily need to. He ended up getting 20 touches, which is still a lot, but it wasn't this like pounding the rock style of play against the Bengals here with the extended rest next week and getting closer to those, late November, December Derrick Henry days where all of a sudden he's ripping off 6 yards a carry. This is the style of matchup that I think will catapult that. I actually don't love Jahmyr Gibbs as much. I think he's going to basically make or break a lot of my builds. If he smashes against the Packers, I'm in trouble. But I'm just worried about this Detroit offensive line handling the Green Bay Packers because Jahmyr Gibbs can kill me. I have no problem with anybody playing Jahmyr Gibbs. It's about where you take your stance. And I would rather play the Jamar Chase, Rashee Rices of the world than get to Jahmyr Gibbs at 8-8. On top of, I know Quay Walker's out, which is big news, but their replacement linebacker plays a ton already, so I'm not really too concerned there. And then Josh Jacobs, I just can't click him. Detroit's been a really good run defense all season long, and his injury was like, did he tear his ACL? And then it was kind of like, no, he's fine. We're practicing a little bit. And he didn't play last week, and now it's a short week, and it's like, if this wasn't a divisional game and they were playing the Panthers on Sunday, would he be playing? And I'm not so certain that would be the case because Emmanuel Wilson looked decent in that game last week. So mainly Henry, Javonte, and I think if you want to get different, I don't mind Keaton Mitchell. I don't think I think you could play Derrick Henry with Keaton Mitchell. That's a unique way to play the $5 Lake Millie because they're going to probably run for 200 yards in this matchup. It wouldn't surprise me to see end of game Keaton Mitchell break off a 70-yard touchdown run.
Playing so much Keaton Mitchell, like just an obscene amount of Keaton Mitchell today. I probably have close to like 75%. I'm going to play one of Keaton Mitchell, Derrick Henry in every lineup, and I'm playing one of Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely in every lineup. Bengals defense just so atrocious at stopping running backs and tight ends. I'm just going all in on those two spots. Tim, how about you? If you're who are you prioritizing between Gibbs and Henry, and then where else are you going on this slate?
Yeah, Jordan and I seemed like we were kind of different in the QB and stack section, but in the running backs, we're very similar. Like I think Derrick Henry is like the best piece of chalk on the slate, and definitely the best piece of chalk when it comes to running back. Like I'm much higher on Derrick Henry than I am on Jahmyr Gibbs. Like that could obviously burn me here, but 8,800 in this matchup for Jahmyr Gibbs. I know he's got 50-point upside. But this is not the Giants' defense that he's going to be playing this week. So I just cannot pay that much for Jahmyr Gibbs. Like, I get it if people want to. I'm certainly not saying it's bad if you do, but he's just not for me. So he's not going to be making my single entry lineup. He'd probably be somebody that I'd be coming underweight on in like a 20 set or 150 set. He's just too pricey for me. I do agree with Jordan as well that I think you can play Derrick Henry and Keaton Mitchell on the same team. I think that's a really nice price for Keaton Mitchell at 4,500. So even if he could somehow even just find you 10 fantasy points here, like that would be fantastic for that price. So I think that this game could potentially blow out and Keaton Mitchell could get some garbage time here. So I certainly agree that you can play both in the same lineup. I do like Javonte Williams here quite a bit. Like he hasn't been scoring the touchdowns, but he's still been getting the touches. So I think if we're going to be running out Mahomes stacks, I think running it back with some Javonte Williams is a really great play. So I'm getting overweight Javonte Williams right now. I agree with Jordan also about Josh Jacobs. I'm not convinced that he's completely healthy. I don't love the spot here either, so I am out on Josh Jacobs. So I'm basically kind of living with Derrick Henry, Javonte Williams, Keaton Mitchell. I think you can get exposure to Kareem Hunt and Isaiah Pacheco. I think that we are leaning that it's still going to be primarily Kareem Hunt, but I could see kind of playing both sides of that, and I don't mind paying those cheap price tags for both of those guys. So I think they're okay as well. But in terms of, 6K and up, it's Henry and Javonte Williams for me.
Do you guys feel that way as well on FanDuel, where Jahmyr Gibbs and Derrick Henry are only $700 apart?
For me,
I do. Yeah. Yep.
It's about production. And again, like with Jahmyr Gibbs, he has less outs as a pass catcher on FanDuel. And last week he scored 60-yard touchdown, 70-yard touchdown, but like 5 different 60-yard runs. If he doesn't break the long run, do you think he's going to get 70% of the goal line usage over David Montgomery?
Yeah, he has in close games and when they're trailing this season. The only time Montgomery has seen his touches push up have been when they're leading by 7 or more points. Rich Rebar wrote this up in was talking about this on the Pick 6 show. It's basically a 50-50 split when Detroit is leading by 1 or more touchdown, and Gibbs has 73.5% of the touches when the team is leading by a touchdown or less or trailing. And so I do still think Gibbs is going to get that work. The Packers' run defense has been absolutely atrocious lately. 100-yard rushers in 3 of their last 4 games. They give it up a lot in the passing game. And Jahmyr Gibbs is running way more routes in the passing game since Dan Campbell took over as the play caller. Yeah. And so that's the big thing for me is, especially on DraftKings, I love those pass-catching receivers. And I think this is probably a spot where we see 10-ish targets for Gibbs today. And I just think that puts his ceiling on another level than Henry's. And so I do like Henry. Henry's my second favorite running back, but I'm trying to get Gibbs and Henry as much as possible. And then on the ones that I don't, I'm going Gibbs and Keaton Mitchell as my main guys today. If you are way behind in a lineup, I saw a lot of questions about late swap, and we'll get into the specifics of if you have specific questions, ask them. But I kind of feel like with this last game of the slate, Cincinnati-Baltimore, maybe a late swap route you could look for is, say, if you have something like, if the salary permits for you, if you are behind, you've had a bust in your lineup and you have Derrick Henry and Andre Yoshivas, maybe that's where you make the switch to Keaton Mitchell and Jamar Chase as kind of like the lower owned combo of that group. Assuming the people ahead of you are going to have a ton of Derrick Henry today. Receiver position, This is where things get interesting because running backs, like we have, is it Gibbs or Henry? Who's the top option? Javonte's fine. None of us have any interest in Jahmyr Gibbs. And we talked about the Keaton Mitchell as the low owned play. But running backs, I clicked NBA. Running backs pretty straightforward. There are a lot of different options we can go to with the receiver position today. Jamar Chase, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Rashee Rice, George Pickens, CeeDee Lamb. What a group of spend-ups for a 3-game slate. Tim, how are you going to sort through these guys, and who are you going to prioritize?
Yeah, wide receiver is super, super tough today. We've got Chase, Brown, Rashee Rice. We have CeeDee Lamb under 7K. We have George Pickens at 7K. I mean, all those guys are fantastic options today. It's tough. I think Rashee Rice is my number one, but it's pretty tough because Jamar Chase is right there at 8K. So I mean, it's just tough. I think Rashee Rice is probably going to be my first click, but I think honestly, you should be playing 2 out of those 5 guys that I mentioned. So 2 out of Chase, Brown, Rice, Lamb, or Pickens. I think you should be jamming in and making rules to be getting to a ton of mixing and matching these guys, correlate these guys with your QBs. I guess I would rank it Rice 1, Chase 2, Amon-Ra 3, CD 4, and Pickens 5. I think. But it's really, really tough. And then, we've got Zay Flowers right there in a really great matchup. But again, I'm so high on Derrick Henry that I think personally, at least in my builds, Zay is going to get squeezed out. And maybe the field is going to come underweight on him, which would make him a strong GPP play in large field. But I'm not going to be getting to him just because that tier that's right above him, I think, is just so much stronger. And then the value pieces today are super interesting. It looks like Christian Watson is kind of the optimal guy today, probably your cash game guy at 4,700. I'm going to be interested to see what the field does with Jameson Williams after he goose-egged on everybody last week, including me. I cost myself, I think, 10 to 15,000 on FanDuel by playing him over Chase Brown in util on my FanDuel single entry team. So that was a horrible mistake. So, yeah, I'm interested to see what the field does with him. Xavier Worthy at 4,500, I think, is super interesting in Mahomes stuff. So I do like him today. And then we have all this other, Tinsley, Tesla, Yoshiba, Bateman, some really, really strong plays in that 3 to 4K range.
Jordan, start with these expensive options: Jamar Chase, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Rice, Pickens, Lamb. Feel free to include Flowers in that group. I'm personally lighter on him today just because I hate the matchup with DJ Turner. I never really want to play a wide receiver 1 against the Bengals. But how about you? Who are you looking to load up today on at these expensive wide receivers?
So it's really boiled down to coverage. Just because I love looking into 2-eye shell, single eye, different things with different matchups. The Cowboys receivers rank the lowest for me. Lamb over Pickens. Basically, Kansas City does a really good job by just being able to stop the run from 2-high shells. That's what they've done all season long, and they've kind of limited, like I said, some of these top-tier receivers in these types of matchups, and they've done it with T. Higgins and Jamar Chase out there. Why? With Joe Burrow as their quarterback, wouldn't surprise me to see them do it again with Dak at quarterback with Pickens and Lamb. That's kind of the similarities. I think they'll play that style of way. Cowboys will need to run the ball to find success. Then Chase is my number 1 receiver because I don't think Baltimore has the guys to cover him. The same group of people that are covering him this year with the same defensive scheme is going out there, and he's had 400 yards and 5 touchdowns in 2 games last season. I think he's going to repeat a lot of the same type of explosive success. Everybody will go back to 2023, I think it was, but that was with Mike McDonald of the Seattle Seahawks. They lost him to be the head coach of Seattle, and without him, that scheme, they're not able to replicate it and not able to get their coverage rules in place. And Jamar Chase has just found a lot of success. Rashee Rice is too. He's dominant against zone coverage. Cowboys last 2 weeks, 80 to 90% zone coverage looks. They can't play man. And then Amon-Ra would be the 3. I would like to get 2 of those 3 in my lineups all the time. Monra is the lowest just because of the fact that the Packers are the best team in the entire NFL against slot receivers. And with Amon-Ra or without Laporta, Amon-Ra is basically getting no snaps out wide. The last 2 games, he's been like 80% in the slot because they go on 3 wide receiver sets, and you're not putting J-Mo in the slot, and you're not putting a 6'4" Isaac Tesla in the slot. So it's limited him, and the way that the Packers funnel their coverages, they cover the slot very, very well. I expect Tesla or J-Mo to have opportunity. I know everybody got burned by him, Tim, so I do like the call out. And Zay Flowers, I can't get to it just because of that's just not the way you beat Cincy. You don't need to use your receivers to beat the Cincinnati Bengals. You could throw to the tight end every play. It is remarkable how many times Drake May last week snapped the ball and didn't even look to his receivers and just threw the ball to Hunter Henry against this Bengals defense. And it's been all year, every team, every single team. And they haven't even played a Brock Bowers. Could you imagine if Brock Bowers played the Bengals? And I don't know how much best ball you guys got with Trey McBride. That's the Week 17 matchup is Cardinals-Bengals. I feel like projections are going to have – like Trey McBride might come in at like 7-6 that week, which would be a phenomenal type of game theory. But then working down, I don't know if you want me to go to the rest of the receivers, TJ, but –
yeah, we can talk. Like the next group that I'd want to hear you guys' thoughts on specifically is Jameson Williams, Christian Watson, Dobbs, Worthy, Yoshivas. I kind of feel like that's a similar group of 5 where people are going to be choosing between the expensive ones and people are going to be choosing between those 5. Tim, you talked about like Watson, kind of the clear cash game guy of that group. He's going to be the highest owned, but I think all of these guys are very viable for tournaments. I was kind of shocked at the low ownership Yoshivas was receiving. I thought that was going to be higher. But Jordan, yeah, for you on that one, how would you rank those 5?
Oh, sorry. These 5, Xavier Worthy is my number 1. I know everybody's afraid of putting him in there. And look, it could totally burn me, but it has not been his fault. It's wild to say Patrick Mahomes just hasn't found a lot of success throwing downfield. And I don't know what it is. I don't know why it is. His mechanics, different things. Xavier Worthy's ADOT against zone coverages with Rashee Rice back in the lineup is like 14 yards down the field. And when you just if you just simply watch the Cowboys give up touchdowns to receivers, it's because they got killed on something down the field against their zone coverage, whether it's someone falling down, whether it's someone not correctly playing their deep third or deep half, whatever the issue is, they get killed a lot down the field against their zone coverage. I think that Xavier Worthy is going to be that guy today and be able to get it done. Christian Watson is my number 2 just because the Lions play so much man coverage. And I don't think DJ Reed will travel Christian Watson's way. He started to against Wandale, and that's when Wandale kind of like fell off for a little bit. And then Wandale started getting moved around the formation, and he finally found some success towards the end of that. So if DJ Reed ends up shadowing Christian Watson, you're in for a tough one. But if he's off of Watson, I think you'll find success there. Romeo Dobbs is an intriguing play just because he's been good. Like, he's been fine. Like, he has the capabilities to do it, and it's not like I like Watson over him, but they're very similar types of players. I think Yoshivas is probably the worst to me, and then J-Mo would be next, like after Christian Watson and Dobbs. Yoshivas is the worst just because I see a floor. If he doesn't score a touchdown, I don't see him getting enough. Like, and I think the other guys, it's like I know what I'm rooting for, and they're going to give me 4 for 100 in a touchdown, or maybe 6. Yoshivas feels like a guy that's going to give me 6, and if he doesn't somehow find the end zone, he's giving me 10, maybe.
Do you have
my kind of thought process is I don't like him as much as those guys, but for 5% projected ownership, I'm like, damn, now all of a sudden I really like him. Tim, how would you prioritize these 5 mid-tier receivers? What would be your ranking?
Yeah, so I agree with Jordan that Yoshibaz would be last for me. I kind of have more interest in Mitch Tinsley if I'm looking for like a value cheapo Cincinnati receiver. So Yoshi Boss would be last for me. Watson would be number one. That's mostly because I play cash games. I play single entry. So I have Watson ranked over Worthy, but Worthy would definitely be number two for me. Super kind of like a boomer bust play. I thought that Worthy would be a little bit lower owned. It's looking like he's going to be pretty similar to Christian Watson. So maybe those two kind of like separate in single entry stuff. Maybe Watson gets a little bit more steam in higher dollar single entry stuff. But yeah, so Watson, then Worthy. Dobbs is okay. He would be the pivot off of Watson. I didn't catch the fourth guy that we were talking about.
JMO /
JMO, yeah. I mean, yeah. So yeah, JMO, super interesting play this week. Yeah, I mean, like ultimate goose egg last week. Like it crushed me in several ways. I'm not going to be going to him today just because I am kind of bearish on that game as a whole. I'm looking to load up on the next two games. So I'm out on Jameson, but I mean he's completely fine. 4,800 seems too cheap, but I'm just kind of bearish on that game.
All right, next five that I want us to rank, and interestingly enough, I must have accidentally X'd him out already because I thought he was there before, but last guys I want us to rank, and he only has a 1 point projection, but I think he's viable. Speaking of that Mahomes deep ball, let's go Rashad Bateman, Mitch Tinsley, Dontavian Wicks with Turpin, Tesla, Thornton. Now, Jordan, I saw you talking about Tesla in chat. And I do think of the 3K flat guys, he's the best option. But I think if you're playing Dak, you could play Turpin at low ownership, especially in that Millie Maker $5 line, tournament.
Yeah.
And Tyquan Thornton paired with Mahomes, I think is a really interesting Millie Maker type play today because I don't think anybody's going to play him. And that's absolutely a guy who could catch a 50-yard bomb.
You could also play Turpin with Cowboys defense. That's the other way to get different with that the special teams touchdown that Turpin can bring you. But I mean obviously it boils down to what you're stacking. That's if you're playing Mahomes, like I'm not going to tell you you're wrong to play Tyquan Thornton. I think Tyquan Thornton would never be a one-off for me. Mitch Tinsley would probably never be a one-off for me. Tesla, I think I could one-off. Tesla is someone I think that I don't need Goff to do it. Funny enough, he did score against the Packers when they got blown out in week 1 of this season, which I think is pretty ironic that now this is going to be his first game like really involved with the game plan that when they start doing it on Monday, like we know Khalif Raymond's probably not going to make it out here. We don't have Sam Laporta. You're going to be a full-time guy, and now we need you to play, a full-time type of role. So Tesla is my favorite of the sub 4K guys.
No tight ends left. Like you mentioned Laporta, but Brock Wright too. They're not going to be doing 3 tight end sets because they don't have 3 tight ends left.
He's also their best red zone receiver, probably. Like from a size perspective, like Amon-Ra is the quickest and most shifty to be able to get open. But in terms of end zone targets inside the 20, I'd expect Tesla to be the first option over Jameson Williams in this particular game. Because JMO is not someone you're throwing to inside the 20s, while Tesla would be just from a size perspective. And literally, that's how he wins. He doesn't win by being this elite separator. He wins by simply being bigger than the person in front of him. And his contested catch ability is really impressive. So he would be my number one of this group and the only one I'd one off. I think Dontavian Wicks is interesting. Against man coverage in particular, like I got to watch Wicks at the Senior Bowl. I actually liked that he was a player. I think that if he could catch the ball, it would be very nice for him to find a lot of success because he gets open. I swear it's like there's a few receivers in the NFL that just get open, don't get the ball. He's one of them. And against this man coverage of the Lions, I think he's my preferred pivot off of Watson. But he's someone that it's hard to click his name just because of the way they use those receivers. But against man coverage in particular, he's got incredible numbers and actually is more efficient than Dobbs this year.
Tim, you mentioned liking Mitch Tinsley. Is he your favorite of this cheap group, or where would you rank him with Wicks and Tesla?
Yeah, he is definitely my favorite of the under 4K range wide receivers. So yeah, Tinsley is my number one. Wicks is probably my number two, just because I think he's a great pivot off of Watson. Going to be under 10% owned here, so I do like Wicks here a ton at 3,400. Tesla would be number three at the Stone Min, 3K. Yeah, I think, again, I don't love that game that much, but these prices are so low, and there's not going to be a lot of ownership. So definitely, I think he's a fine play. I'm not really high on Bateman here, just because we talked about it with Flowers. This is not really how you beat the Bengals. I'm anticipating that it's just going to be tight ends and running backs here. Obviously, you can take shots in a portfolio of teams, but not something I'm going to be getting into in single entry or 3 max stuff. Whereas I would consider guys like Wicks, Tesla, Tinsley in single entry 3 max stuff. Like I had Tinsley in my primary build as of like right before we got on the show. I have since taken him out, but I'm considering putting him back in. So I mean, it's pretty tough for me. I'm really considering one of these mid 3 guys here on my primary team.
Let's make the switch to tight end, because I do think this is a very interesting conversation as well. When you get to the flex position and you're considering running 4 receivers with a guy like Mitch Tinsley, you also have to throw in Mark Andrews, Mike Gesicki as kind of like the direct competition with those guys, because I do think a lot of people will go to tight end today. We have Andrews projecting for the highest owned, Kelsey 2, with Gesicki and Likely pretty tied for 3, depending on where you look. I found that surprising. I thought Gesicki was going to be going significantly higher owned than Isaiah Likely today. With this being the case, with them pretty even, I kind of think for his ownership, Gesicki's the best tight end play on the slate for his current projected ownership. He is the tight end 2 whenever he is the wide receiver 2 whenever T. Higgins isn't on the field. This is something that happened all of last year. And Gesicki was the number 2 target without T. Higgins out there. Tim, who are you prioritizing at tight end today? Is Andrews your cash game guy?
Yeah, it's really, really close. Tight end is super, super strong. I think honestly, there's a good case to be made to play 2 tight ends in cash today, and I think that in cash anyway, it's probably going to be Mark Andrews and Mike Gesicki. If you're a FanDuel user, Mike Gesicki's only 4K, and it's not usual to get to 2 tight ends on FanDuel, but I think it makes a lot of sense this week over there as well, just because he's so darn cheap, and like you said, he's more of their wide receiver too. So it's looking like it's going to be a 2 tight end week. Like now in Sims, I'm getting to a ton of wide receiver in the flex, but a case can certainly be made here to play tight end just because it's so strong. And like I mentioned at the top of the show, don't be afraid, in 20 max stuff, 150 stuff, obviously, in that $5 milli maker, to just get different with some of these cheap tight ends, because there's going to be so much ownership on Andrews, on Gesicki, on Likely. Don't be afraid to take shots on Luke Musgrave, John Fitzpatrick, Anthony Ferkser. Like I know it's not pretty.
Ferkser and Roth. One of Ferkser or Dwelly is scoring a touchdown today. Right.
I mean, I know it's not pretty, but I mean, these are the spots where you got to take chances. In those small dollar high entry GPPs. So it's or even a Noah Fant at 3K. I think that these are spots here where you have to take chances.
Tim, if you're only playing 1 on FanDuel, are you getting to Kelsey or Andrews? Say you have 6K remaining, Kelsey or Andrews?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I think optimals are saying you spend that money on Kelsey. I think you just go with Kelsey if you're building one team.
Jordan, how about you? Kelsey or Andrews on FanDuel? And then in general, who do you like at tight end today?
I'd go Andrews. Dallas has been a little bit better against tight ends as of late. Like, they've gotten healthier. I know I've been messing in the chat with Marie Don Yeezy over there, talking about Cowboys getting some Malik Hooker and secondaries fixed. So, but I would go Andrews just because Cincinnati's just been like they have given up more touchdowns so far this season than any team 2 tight ends last year, the entire year. They just get killed against tight ends. I can't avoid that one.
Who else do you like today at the tight end position? I'm personally going full fade on Jake Ferguson. Just no interest on him with all these weapons back for Dallas. Everybody healthy, everybody good. Where on DraftKings, where they're closer in price, how are you kind of ranking Andrews, Gesicki likely?
I'd put Andrews and Gesicki, or in likely over Gesicki, and it's not like Gesicki's a fine tournament play. Obviously, I think that his projected ownership being lower than both tight ends on the same team feels weird. But I also like if you're the Ravens, they have this chess piece of Kyle Hamilton. Kyle Hamilton can literally take away Gesicki, like fully just take him away if they choose to. And everybody's anticipation is like, well, the Ravens or the Bengals, like their number 2 receiver might be Gesicki today. And if that's the Ravens' expectations, they can literally just take him away from the game because Kyle Hamilton on him, it's a matchup where Hamilton's going to win probably 9 times out of 10. Dude's absolutely incredible. Best safety in football. So I worry about that. I feel like getting 22% ownership is so funny when he's just a backup tight end. I have no interest in the Packers guys. I do think Detroit, the tight ends are interesting just because they're not going to get played and they're going to have to field a tight end. They can't play this game without a tight end on the field because if that is the case, the Packers defense will have a lot of fun against those 5-man protections.
6 O-linemen on the line, 3 wide receivers at all times.
If they go to a 6 O-line set, that would be hilarious and so interesting because you'd have to overcommit to the run. I also think they could go. I think we're going to see a lot of 2 running back sets today with David Montgomery and Gibbs on the field. I think that makes a lot more sense than maybe if they don't play a tight end, having David Montgomery be a chip blocker or just an extra blocker in pass pro might help. They formationally, I think the Lions might be a really fun team to watch today. I don't really hope they score a lot of points because I don't have a ton of love for their team today. But if they could go to 2 running backs, 2 receivers, and a 6th O lineman, and then put Jahmyr Gibbs in the slot.
That'd be awesome. That would genuinely be so much fun. And you never can rule out things like that with Dan Campbell. We'll talk briefly about defense. Obviously, you can play any of these 6 defensive teams today. You can play the Bengals at 2,200. 1, because anything can happen on defense. You can get a kick return touchdown. You get a tip ball, whatever. 2, because Lamar Jackson's getting sacked like crazy lately. And so you can actually play them anyways. But I think my top defense today is the Packers. They're going to be the ones I'm going to the most. Probably Packers 1, Lions 2, Ravens 3 for me. I just really like getting to the Packers and Lions in that game today. Jordan, how about you? I saw you in chat. You like the Packers. What other defenses are you playing today?
So you're just basically going for who gives you the best chance to score a touchdown. Who's going to be the quarterback that throws a pick 6, different things. Like you look at Lamar Jackson with you bringing up the Bengals, like Lamar's been sacked so much this year because he can't escape. Like he's not a functional runner. So like playing Bengals defense with your Derrick Henry lineups isn't that much like that bad of an idea, even though it's going to feel uncomfortable. Like I think with defense, if I can afford the Packers, I'm playing the Packers. If I can afford, the Lions, I'll go to the Lions. The Lions are a defense that I don't necessarily love, but I look at that game in particular, and I think Jordan Love pick 6s are always possible. Josh Jacobs isn't 100%, so like Lions can kind of pin their ears back. And are those receivers really capable of winning the full game, especially since the Lions are the lowest owned defense or tied with the Bengals? Like the Lions didn't do well against Jameis, but how many times have we seen Jameis just go out there and go nuts against any defense with any sort of talent? I know, TJ, you got the people on Jameis Winston this past weekend, so I'm proud to. I think you've gone 2 straight weeks just coming on to our show. It's just being like, yeah, I like Jacoby Brissett triple stacks, and I like Jameis double stack. I'm like, what? Like, it feels like he could do it against Lions, but why can't Jordan Love throw 2 pick sixes? I've seen that game from Jordan Love. I've seen it plenty of times.
Jordan Love's going to have 30 points or 9.
Yeah, I agree. I think the defenses I'm least interested in are the Chiefs Cowboys. I don't think their defenses are going to give you that touchdown. I think Kevontae Turpin makes me somewhat interested in the Cowboys because of his kick return ability, but like I just feel like Packers, Ravens, and Bengals will be Lions will be the 4 defenses for me.
It's exactly how I feel, Tim. How about you?
Yeah, I'm currently getting to a bunch of Kansas City. That's the team I'm getting the most exposure to. But I mean, it really is. It's really tough. It's like, who's going to get that defensive touchdown today? Baltimore's probably got the best chance, but they're probably going to be the highest owned. Like I said, I'm getting to KC the most. I do like Green Bay a little bit here. But really, I'm just playing who fits. I mean, it's like, you can correlate with your running back a little bit. You can correlate with like an onslaught stack. But I mean, ultimately, I've just been playing around with a lot of like 2v2s and 3v3s and like playing who fits, but I think if I wanted to like take a stand and say, this is my favorite defense, it's probably KC.
All right, Tim, I will keep it with you. Who is your slate breaking performer today? We will still go through some Showdown stuff, and if you have any specific Showdown questions, feel free to get them in. All questions, get them into the RotoGrinders live stream Discord, get them into the YouTube chat. We will have a Q&A period here at the end of the show. Pending Jordan and Tim don't answer all of them in chat because they're too helpful. They're too nice. They're too good of analysts. They're helping all the time. Tim, who you got breaking the slate today?
Yeah, so one chalky guy that I'm going to say that I absolutely love here is Rashee Rice. So that's my one chalk guy. And then my one kind of like gross click that I think is going to be, a really, contrarian play that's going to get you off of a lot of ownership, a lot of chalk. I'm going to go, I see a question about him in the chat, actually. I'm going to go Luke Musgrave as my cheap tight end.
For me, my somewhat chalky play I think you're going to need to have, it's going to break the slate, that's Jahmyr Gibbs for me. I do really like Rashee Rice as well, but Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be my number one spend up. Love him against this Packers defense that has been elite against the pass, struggling against the run. And my lower owned option, it's Keaton Mitchell. I'm going to play him instead of Derrick Henry, with Derrick Henry just a ton. I want to get as much exposure against this Bengals defense as possible. And so give me as much Baltimore as I can. And I think Keaton Mitchell is a very sneaky way to attack. Jordan, how about you?
I'm going to go with a mini stack of Javonte and Xavier Worthy. I think I know the Chiefs defense is very scary against the run. They haven't faced a duo at receiver like that are George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb. I think they focus on limiting them as pass catchers, and Javonte gets it going early. And Xavier Worthy catches those deep balls that result in touchdowns. And maybe we get a little bit of a Super Bowl type performance that we had from Worthy this past January, just in a much closer game environment.
We have 1,500 people right now watching across the sites, over 800 on YouTube. Hit that damn like button. You guys, come on, help us out. Hit the like button. If we get 200 likes, I got an 8-pick underdog card of different prop plays and pick 'em plays that I really like today. And so if we get up to 200 likes, I will drop that card. So hit that like button, get us up to 200. I do want to get, we're probably not going to say right up to lock because I want to give these guys a chance to finalize their lineups. And so get them in quick just for the purpose of saving time. For these showdown plays, I'm going to give kind of my little breakdown, but then I will ask the two of you, who would be your primary captain / MVP choice, and who would be your top option as a salary saver today? Looking at this first game, Amon-Ra St. Brown's projected ownership at the captain position makes no sense to me. He should not be 30% owned in this spot. It is not a good spot for Amon-Ra St. Brown today. I am way team Jahmyr Gibbs in this spot, and if I'm not going Jahmyr Gibbs, I would rather go to somebody like a Christian Watson, hope he catches a long one, or a Jordan Love. In terms of salary savers, this is a big stars and scrubsy type slate for me. I'm looking to get as much of the Gibbs Love combination as I can. And then the salary savers, you have the incredibly cheap tight ends on both teams, especially on the Detroit side, because they didn't know that Brock Wright was going to be out. So you have $200 Ferkser, $200 Dwelly, and then a $2,000 Isaac Tesla. Jordan, anything to add in this game?
I love Christian Watson, captain. He's that style of player, and I think Watson captain with Tesla will allow you to just plug in Jahmyr Gibbs pretty easily. I think the defenses or Packers kicker and the defenses would be the way I'd play it. I hate the Lions kicker because Dan Campbell never wants to kick. It's a tale as old as time with that guy.
Tim, how about you? Preferred captain and your top salary saver?
Yeah, Christian Watson is going to be my very first guy that I was going to use as captain. So I agree with you guys there. And then Luke Musgrave, Isaac Tesla, I think are really, really strong value plays. And don't forget about Dontavian Wicks at 4K. I think he's a pretty interesting play as well.
From the Kansas City and Dallas side, I do like so if you're playing something single entry cash, I feel like Mahomes is the clear guy to go to in that spot, or Rashee Rice. Like you're picking one of the two in that type of scenario. I don't hate the idea though of going a really low owned Javonte Williams at the captain position and then loading up on the entirety of the Kansas City passing game outside of that and just have Javonte Williams being maybe throw in a Brandon Aubrey, but having that be the only access to the Cowboys game and then loading up on the whole pass catching game for Kansas City today. Tim, thoughts on that? Who do you like captain / MVP in Chiefs and Cowboys?
Rashee Rice at 15K. I absolutely love here. He's my favorite captain. Jake Ferguson, I think, is super interesting. Dak, I love. George Pickens, I love as well.
Jordan, how about you?
I'd go Worthy as my favorite captain, obviously, and just Javonte as well. This game, both kickers very, very, very much in play because these guys actually enjoy kicking field goals and not necessarily going for it except for the Cowboys decision. I don't know if you guys saw the Philly one this past week, not kicking the field goal like a minute left in the tied game was absolutely nuts.
Yeah, but Harrison Butker can make field goals, just not extra points, I guess, at this point in his career. Cincinnati and Baltimore, I think we're currently projecting Jamar Chase as the highest owned and as the highest optimal rate. I have no problem with that. I like the idea of going like a Jamar Chase captain and then playing both Derrick Henry and Keaton Mitchell alongside Lamar Jackson in that lineup. But I would also try and make sure I can get an exposure to a lot of Mark Andrews today as well. But for me, it's basically Jamar Chase and all of Baltimore, except not Baltimore's receivers, just Baltimore's tight ends, running backs, and Lamar. Tim, how about you? Who do you like in this game?
Derrick Henry, my number one, 100% captain. I like him over Jamar Chase.
Jordan, how about you?
Ooh, I go Henry. Like it's just the fact that Lamar is getting more ownership at the captain is insane to me. I don't think Lamar. I wouldn't play Lamar on that slate. I think that's a unique way to go about it.
Yeah, Derrick Henry looking like surprisingly the one who's going to be going under-owned in that spot based on our projections right now. So definitely agree with you guys there. Nothing wrong with going Derrick Henry. You want to get crazy? Go Keaton Mitchell. You want to get real crazy? Go Keaton Mitchell. DKGPP, let's start getting to some questions now. Hit that like button for us if you want to take a peek at the underdog slip. We'll do it if we get over 200. DKGPP, Tim, if triple stacking with Dak, who are your three? I personally only have double stacks there. I'm going Pickens, Lamb, in all of them.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could add in Ferguson, but I'd only be doing doubles there.
Jordan, how about you? Would you be trying a triple or keeping it a double?
The only triple I'd want on the slate is the Chiefs with Mahomes. Go Mahomes, Kelsey, Worthy, and Rice. That's the only person I'd triple stack on the slate.
Few questions about Josh Jacobs early on. We're basically all off of Josh Jacobs today. Short week after an injury, and we saw when he was like slightly dealing with something that was bugging him before, He was no longer the full workhorse back. His snaps dropped in that 60% range. And so I don't really want to be getting to Josh Jacobs today. Any love for Luke Musgrave? Yes, absolutely. Tim loves Luke Musgrave today. I'll let you speak to that a little bit more, Tim.
Well, I mean, it's not that I love him. It's not even that I necessarily expect
You love
him
Tim.
to
He's your favorite player in the NFL.
It's like not like I expect him to like always outscore these other cheap tight ends. I just think he's a super interesting way of getting different here out of these very, very popular cheap tight end builds. I think he's a very viable play in any kind of GPP format.
Love this question from Broccoli Boy. Can each host give their ugliest click of the day? Who is your ugliest click of the day that you might?
Mine's Musgrave. Mine's Musgrave. That's a pretty ugly clip.
Mine's Tyquan Thornton. I'm getting to a ton of Mitchell, but Tyquan Thornton is the guy that I'm getting to. That's like, man, he might get 2 snaps.
Yeah, I can't say like Tesla because he doesn't feel ugly on this slate. What about Charlie Kolar? That would be the ugliest click, I think. Going to the third tight end.
Third tight end on Baltimore
I mean,
today.
He scored in back-to-back weeks against the Bears and Dolphins, and I played likely against the Bears. I watched that touchdown thinking I can't believe it's Charlie Kolar. So, I mean,
I've played likely in a couple matchups with Lamar recently, and it's so frustrating because like he gets an end zone target every game. He just hasn't come down with them.
He had 66 yards and a touchdown in the last game against Cincy that he played.
Yeah, he had a 50-yard touchdown or something like that. He caught one and went deep on it.
So if Charlie measure go, but you can't even triple tight end the Ravens. I wish you could.
Tim, you want Chase Brown, Wicks, pick. It was a 4v4. Chase Brown, Wicks, Pickens, Packers, Montgomery, or Montgomery, Watson, Lamb, Cowboys.
I guess the second one.
Season-long Vanek, you want Christian Watson or Troy Franklin?
Who do the Broncos play this weekend? I forgot who the Broncos play. My lean off just not even knowing who the Broncos play. Oh, they play the Commanders. No, Troy Franklin. No, just stick to the person who has a full week of prep against the Washington Commanders. That guy.
Any value in Isaac Tesla? Yes, Tesla is a great value play today. Should be the clear wide receiver 3 with no Khalif Raymond, no tight ends to think of today for Detroit. Dean wants to know who's the ham of the slate. Who do I absolutely have to play in the first game in single entry? The first game, I think it's Jahmyr Gibbs.
Nobody, Dean.
Javonte Williams is terrible stats against the Chiefs. That doesn't.
That was the Broncos. That was Broncos.
Now he was on a completely different team. Let's see. Scrolling down. Thoughts? Sorry if you talked about it, but what are your thoughts on Kareem Hunt? Tim, what are your thoughts on Hunt today?
I mean, he's an older running back coming off a short week. I think Jordan answered this in chat. It's pretty hard to trust him. That whole a backfield in GPPs, I'm fine with that, but in like single entry stuff, I'm super sketched out by that situation.
Jordan, who do you want? Gibbs and Andrews or Jamar Chase and Keaton Mitchell in DK single entry?
Gibbs and Andrews is the safer play, especially for a single entry contest. I think that Chase and Keaton Mitchell would be just better on like a full, like a 150 max. I don't know if I could play that in a single entry.
JMO or Christian Watson, Tim?
I think Watson.
All right. Vanek, pick one, Ferkser or Dwelly?
I'd pick Ferkser. He played more snaps, 3-2 last week. It's 3-2, but he played more snaps.
That's
all I got.
Who's your favorite defense today? For me and Vanek, it is Packers. Tim, who was yours?
Chiefs.
Can you play Cowboys DST if you are also playing Mahomes, Jordan?
Yeah. That there's a game script where the Cowboys get a return for a touchdown and a pick 6, and then all of a sudden Mahomes has to throw 50 times. That's how you tell that story.
Why is Hunt's projection so low? The Vegas odds are plus 100 for a TD and 50 yards. Well, I can almost promise you he will not get 50 yards today. If that's what his Vegas line is, definitely go the under on that. TD is possible because if they get to the goal line, that's who they're going to. But Dallas defense does no longer stink against the run. That is a misconception. They added Quinn Williams. They had a bunch of guys getting back from injury. They have no defensive backs, but their run defense is actually very good. Plus Pacheco is back. That would be why his projection is so low. Jamie or Watson, we answered that one twice already. We got Watson in that scenario. Dwelly or Tesla for cash. That would be Tesla in that scenario. Kareem Hunt or David Montgomery, Tim?
But don't play either one in cash, though.
Don't play either one in cash. Correct. Hunt or Monty, Tim?
What was the first one?
Kareem Hunt or David Montgomery?
I guess Hunt.
What are your thoughts on a Burrow and Jamar Chase stack today, Jordan?
Love Jamar Chase and Burrow. But it's a better way than I think playing Dak and Pickens, which is it's always fun to say that. Just like way the seasons have played and knowing what George Pickens and Dak have done.
$100 apart. A lot of people are going to be choosing between this today. Tim, you want Pickens or Lamb?
I'm going Lamb.
Jordan, how about you? Pickens or Lamb?
Lamb because of the two eye shells. Knowing Spags, he's going to press George Pickens and have a safety over the top.
Are you more likely to play Pirine in a Cincinnati onslaught or another type of build? No. Not more likely to play Pirine in any type of those builds. I'm not getting any Samaje Pirine today. Couple last second questions to get questions in if you have them. If not, we'll get out of here a couple minutes early. I want to make sure Vanek and Tim can finalize those lineups, especially because we've been already on for an hour and 20. Last question, Lions D and I think that's Javonte Williams. Lions D and Javonte Williams or Chase Browns and Ravens D, Tim?
I guess the Lions side, I guess.
I'd go Lions side.
All right, that'll do it. Thank you so much for tuning in, everybody. Good luck today in your tournaments. Hope you have a happy holiday, a happy Thanksgiving. Smash that like button on your way out. On behalf of myself, Jordan, and Tim, we will see you next time. Peace.